Welcome to the ZeroDown software video tutorials prepared by ZeroDown's technology. This video will provide a quick overview for integrating ZeroDown software with the Alauda container environment. Alauda gives us the ability to orchestrate our containers and deploy them into multiple cloud environments. First, a little explanation to demonstrate the unique value of these two powerhouse applications in concert. For demonstration purposes, we'll set up a cluster of instances within a cloud provider. Cloud provider A can be a Microsoft Azure cloud provider, and provider B can either be an MSP running Azure Stack or an enterprise running an Azure Stack. Alauda allows us to deploy our containers stored in its repository and orchestrate deploy across various cloud provider instances. In this example, we can deploy ZeroDown software into Azure, as well as the Azure Stack in an MSP or even a private data center. With our partnership, we can also migrate applications into any cloud environment. During the migration process, the ZeroDown software will maintain availability and continuity of the application during the migration process, thus providing the user with zero downtime. This video will walk you through the 6-step migration methodology of ZeroDown software and Alauda, taking an application running in the source data center and then migrating it into an Azure target environment. We'll use Alauda to orchestrate and deploy our ZeroDown software into a cluster of instances within the Azure environment. During this process, we allow users to continue using the application during the migration process. No downtime whatsoever. Once the application has been migrated, ZeroDown software will replay the transactions that had occurred during the migration process. When all the transactions have been processed, the application is successfully migrated into the cloud. Let's start by sharing the ZeroDown migration methodology. Step 1. Install and deploy our software. Step 2. User will take a snapshot and deploy their application from their environment. Step 3. We'll then start to move that application using Alauda into the Azure environment. Step 4. Perform acceptance testing, and Step 5. Once the acceptance testing has been completed, we'll then recognize the new instance is ready to accept data. Step 6. Finally, we'll synchronize and replay those transactions and confirm our application is fully integrated into the targeted Azure environment. At that point, we can take down our source data center and have a completely migrated application into the cloud. Or we may prefer to leave our application running in a high availability or hybrid configuration with a new source data center in Azure. Let's get started. When logging into Alauda, you'll see we have a cluster of servers running in our cloud environment. The containers are stored within the tab Images, where we'll find the ZeroDown software modules, including nodes, switches, and any supporting containers we've registered. And in our example, we even have our source application that we will be migrating. With one simple mouse click, Alauda deploys our software into the cluster. In this example, our ZeroDown console is running in one instance in one of my machines in the cluster, and we have switches and nodes running in another instance in the cluster. The ZeroDown software is deployed in a number of instances within the cloud cluster. The next step is to configure the ZeroDown software by accessing the ZeroDown console. In this example, we'll access the ZeroDown console through the Alauda endpoint URL, console.z9-console-09s.alauda.me and port 18080. Using this endpoint, we can go to a browser and access the ZeroDown console. Now that we've connected to our ZeroDown console, we can see our synchronized journal, our switch, and all our node applications running. It's now time to configure the source data center. Referring to our diagram, this is the source data center, We configure this address to be the data center the application is starting from. Go into Node 1, hit Settings, and confirm the source URL and port. And in our case here, port 18080. Referring to the methodology to see where we are in the process, we're now configuring the source and target system. We'll designate Node 2 our target system. In our case, Node 2 will point to the 09's image that is reserved in the Azure cloud. For our demonstration, we'll enter a port that the application in Azure doesn't use. Now that we've successfully configured the source host and target hosts within the system, it's time to take a snapshot of our application and data and start to plan our migration into the Azure cloud. During this process, users still are able to access the source data center by going through the ZeroDown software switch. Let's access the ZeroDown switch through Alauda. We can find out what endpoint it's going through. You can see we're now accessing the application through the ZeroDown software. Users still are able to access their application as if it were still in their data center. We have pre-staged the deployment of our target application at z9azure.cloudapp.net using port 8080. When we log in to where our application is going to be launched, we'll add new data to provide a good demonstration following our snapshot phase. Let's open another window to demonstrate the data added into my original source data center has been processed. It's now processing in the source data center, and by clicking on our new Target Data Center tab, we see that it hasn't been updated yet. Referring to our methodology, we're in the stage where we're still processing through the original source data center. It's capturing transactions that are occurring there until we go through acceptance testing in step 4 to ensure data is transferring over. We use Alauda orchestration to deploy the target application into the cloud. In the Alauda instances, we would have looked at our images and launched the application into my cluster named Z9. When the application comes up, we have a new target area of the application running through this link. Walking through the deployed sample application from Alauda, we've launched this application into our host running at this endpoint within Alauda. Once we know our application is up and running, we'll be able to access the data in a centralized area. It will actually pull log files generated from that container. We can do monitoring of the instances, look at our endpoints. Maybe we've set some environmental variables in the application itself and can see what volumes or links we're tagged into within this application, showing persistent file stores in the local instances. We validated that the data has been successfully migrated into the target Azure cloud, and in this example, an Azure Stack environment. Next, we need to link our system with the successfully migrated application in the cloud. We do this by going into the Management Console and enabling the port in the target application, which is 8080. Now our system shows that ZeroDown is running in Azure and now communicates through port 8080. At this point in the process, the system will connect through the ZeroDown synchronizer and capture the transactions normally missed, known as transactions lost in flight during the migration time frame, and automatically replay that data into the target system. We'll demonstrate that by going through our target location in Azure. By refreshing our screen, we see the transactions normally lost in flight were replayed without administrative intervention. Hospital ABC was updated into our target location in Azure. One of the key differentiators ZeroDown software provides is the ability to run in parallel an active-active application. Since we are using ZeroDown's technology, when we enter a transaction, the transaction gets processed in both our source application as well as in our target application. To demonstrate the synchronization capability, let's enter in a personal contact. As we enter John White into the application, it resides in the original source data center, We can see that in our Azure instance, John White's transaction has also been recorded. We see the Azure Cloud logo here, visually giving us a better idea of where we are in the system, and then tracking back to where our users will be going through. We can see our migration is completed, and if we so choose, can now safely take our source data center offline. We can do that by simply going into our node and instructing our original source data center to discontinue network communications, effectively taking down the application altogether. In our demonstration, we've discontinued communications with our source data center. Therefore, when we go through ZeroDown, if we do a refresh, the original source data center is no longer available and is searching to find what is available. In our instance here, Azure is up and running. All of our data is processing in Azure Cloud, and all future transactions will only be in Azure going forward. Congratulations! This instruction is complete. We've now demonstrated how to successfully migrate your source data center into the Azure Cloud. You are now free to roam about the clouds. For more information, please visit us at ZeroDownSoftware.com.